वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we are continuing to see Narad Muni's instruction to Vedavyas. And right now we are in a position where the Bhakti Vedantists are living. The 4 months of Chaturmasya is over and they are leaving. And when they are leaving, they have given something very interesting. And what is that thing that they have given? And what is the significance of that in our life? Prabhupada is explaining that in the purport. So the verse goes like this: Jnanam guhyatamam yattat sakshad bhagavatoditam anvavochan gamishyantah kripaya deenavatsala. Jnanam guhyatamam yattat. So they imparted knowledge, which is expected because they are Bhakti Vedantists. They are very knowledgeable, they are learned. But the knowledge that they imparted was guhyatamam. That was the most confidential. And what is any other qualification of that knowledge? Any other adjective? Sakshad Bhagavato Uditam, which is propounded by the Lord Himself. Sakshad Bhagavata Uditam, it is spoken by Him. Sakshad Bhagavato Uditam. Anvavochan Gamishyantah Kripaya Deenavatsala. While passing, while departing, Gamishyantah Anvavochan, they spoke. It's in past tense. Anvavochan Gamishyantah Kripaya Deenavatsala. Why did they speak? Because they are very merciful. They are Deenavatsala. Because of their causeless mercy, they spoke. Deenavatsala, those who are very kind to the poor and meek. Deenavatsala is used for the Lord as well as pure devotees of the Lord. They are very, very compassionate. Compassionate to the people who are suffering, who are going through this miserable material existence. Since they were so compassionate, they spoke this Guhyatamam Jnanam. And this Guhyatamam Jnanam is revealed by the Lord Himself, Sakshat Bhagavatoditam. While passing, they just imparted this knowledge. This is the verse. Before we proceed further, I just thought I'd share this video with you. Let's see this video.
ज्ञान वो इन्वेस्टमेंट है जिसका डिविडेंड यानी मुनाफा जीवन के अंत तक मिलता रहता है। मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि एक सामान्य जिंदगी जीने के लिए इंसान को रोटी, कपड़ा और मकान के अलावा अगर किसी चीज की सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत होती है तो वो है शिक्षा, एजुकेशन। आपके पास यदि धन है तो आप उसे गोल्ड में कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं। धन हो या सोना, दोनों के कम होने का या खो जाने का डर हो सकता है, पर यही धन को अगर हम नॉलेज में कन्वर्ट करते हैं तो वो कभी कम नहीं होगा और ना ही उसकी चोरी हो सकती है। देखिए, जीवन में मुझे बहुत सी बातों ने प्रभावित किया है। मेरे ये अनुभव सुनने में शायद साधारण लगे, पर इनमें छिपा सार असाधारण है, अनमोल है। यदि मैं आपसे पूछूं कि सबसे शक्तिशाली व्यक्ति कौन है, सबसे शक्तिशाली व्यक्ति कौन है, तो कोई कहेगा कि जिसके पास पावर है, वेपन्स हैं, शस्त्र है, धन है, किसी देश का राजा या किसी सल्तनत का वारिस है। मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि वेपन्स, मनी किसी को पावरफुल नहीं बनाते, या अगर बनाते भी हैं तो कुछ समय के लिए ही बना पाते। दौलत आज होगी, कल नहीं। शस्त्र का ज्ञान तभी तक काम आएगा जब तक वो शस्त्र चल सकता है. Once it is used, it becomes obsolete. पर शास्त्र का ज्ञान कभी नहीं रुकता. Knowledge can never be obsolete. शास्त्र ज्ञान, शस्त्र ज्ञान.
So the point is, the importance of knowledge cannot be overstressed. Of course, various people talk about it. The video was just to show even a materialistic person busy with his materialist pursuits understands the importance of knowledge, understands the importance of Sastric knowledge. And here we see that the Bhaktivedantists, they imparted to the poor-hearted souls, Prabhupada writes in the translation, who is poor and meek. That's all of us. Why we are poor, we will see. Instructed me in the most confidential subject. So to understand what knowledge can do and how knowledge is so important, what is the benefit of knowledge, let's see from Prabhupada's life. Actually, Prabhupada talks about this importance of knowledge when he is giving this lecture on the most fundamental, foundational verse of Bhagavad Gita, Dehinosmin yatha dehe komaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra namushyati. And the word dhira is knowledgeable or sober. So Prabhupada is writing, he is giving this lecture and he is mentioning this. Now this wise man, the word, Sanskrit word is dhira. And what is dhira? Dhira means that one who is undisturbed in mind. And our disturbance of the mind is due to our ignorance. We can ask ourselves, are we disturbed in this material world? The answer somewhere we get is yes. Then we are not dhira. Dhira means who is undisturbed in mind. And what is the cause of disturbance? The cause of disturbance of the mind is due to our ignorance. Suppose I want to go somewhere, and this illustrates this, how ignorance is the cause of disturbance by his own life. Suppose I want to go somewhere. Now I am in the station. And actually it so happened when I came to New York, first from India, I was to be dispatched to Butler by the bus station. But I was a new man. I did not know the rules and regulation. Of course, somebody was guiding me. Still, I was very much in disturbed condition. How to get on the bus, how to get the ticket, how? Imagine if you are new and you are here in a new place and you don't know the language, you don't know the culture, or you're just completely alien and you have to explore some things. Not easy. So Prabhupada is giving his own example. He's recollecting to board the bus, to get the ticket, what is the rules, what is the regulations, what has to be followed. He was unaware. And all these things makes a person disturbed. So disturbance of mind is due to our ignorance. And here a very nice word is used, dhira. Dhira means undisturbed. And Prabhupada goes on to speak that we should carefully note that our mind in the material condition is always disturbed. I see people even in after having understood the importance of devotional life, spiritual life, still they're disturbed. And Prabhupada is saying we should carefully note that our mind in the material condition is always disturbed. When our mind is in the material condition, it is always disturbed. Why? This is due to our unfavorable condition. So first thing Prabhupada is telling is that ignorance is the cause of disturbance. And the disturbance happens because if you see the first one, disturbance of the mind is due to our ignorance. Right? And then he goes on to say the disturbance of the mind is due to ignorance, and the disturbance of the mind, when the mind is in the material condition, it is always disturbed. And this is due to our unfavorable condition. What is the mind being in material condition? What is unfavorable condition? Because we are actually spirit and identity, and we have been put into material conditions. We can very well experience. I got the experience, and here is Captain Pandya. He has also experienced. He may be more experienced than me. When we passed through the sea on the ship, although we are on the sea quite safe, still when there is some storm, when there is some disturbance on the ocean, we also become very much disturbed because that situation is foreign to us. You see, we are not so much disturbed in the land as we are disturbed in the ocean, because we know that our position in the ocean is not our natural condition. So we should note that disturbance is due to our unnatural condition. Otherwise, there is no question of disturbance. This example is a very striking one. Even though the sea is strong, safe, and the passengers are relatively, it's not like water is coming or something of that sort, or it's leaking or anything of that sort, but still they're disturbed. Because when we are the creatures or animals of land, when we are put into another situation, even though it is safe, we feel disturbed because the situation is foreign to us. Same thing is mentioned by Prahlad Maharaj in one of his prayers when he says, Tat sadhu manye asuravarya dehina sada samudvigna dhyam asadgraha hitvatma patam grihamandha pupam vanam gato yad dharimashrayat. Tat sadhu manye asuravarya dehina sada samudvigna dhyam asadgraha. So, sada samudvigna dhyam asadgraha. Always disturbed. Best of the asuras, oh best of the asuras, this is spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, is telling, king of the demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well where there is no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest, Vana. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavana, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. Hitvatma patam grihamandha kupam vanam gato yadharimashrayat. So anybody who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because having fallen in a dark world. This is what Prabhupada is saying about this Harimashrayat, or the point of being anxious because of having accepted this temporary body, which is not our true identity. Right, and then in the same lecture, actually, Prabhupada mentions there is something which is very interesting, that so he continues to speak about the dialogue between Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu, and he's telling that his father was a materialist. Materialists are called in Sanskrit language Asura. So there is Asura and there is Deva. Deva means human beings who are connected with the Supreme God. Their life is for realization of the Supreme Truth. They are called Deva. Whereas those who are Asuras, their goal in life is simply to enjoy matter for sense pleasure. That's all. And we saw how those who are engrossed, or whose goal in life is only to enjoy matter, are sada samudvignatya, because this body is not our permanent asset. Now, if you see, actually, very interestingly, the nature around us, you find there are so many living entities, so many varieties of living entities. Like there are birds, there are dogs, there are cats, there are other living entities. But these living entities, they don't have a choice. Like a cat has to do whatever that meow, a dog has to bark, or a crane when he's there, it has to catch a fish. Their path is very well defined. This is the path they have to follow, the path which is taken by their own instincts. Whereas a human being has a choice. Imagine if there is a straight road, you don't need to ask anyone what is to be done. You just follow this path. Whereas if the road has multiple different options, you can go in left, you can go in right, you can go in straight, you can go in any directions, then there is always a confusion. And unfortunately for us, we made the mistake at the beginning. The mistake that we made at the beginning was we wanted to be averse to Krishna. We wanted to be independent enjoyer, and we fell down here. So what happens when we do this mistake? Maya Devi, who's there to catch, gives us this body. First punishment is this dress is given, which is this body. And once this body is given, in this life, we grow our bodily identifications. So this is my husband, this is my wife, this is my children, this is my father, this is my mother, this is my motherland. And we grow this identification so much, and we live in that life, that the whole thing becomes topsy-turvy. Like Prabhupada gives the example, if at the beginning, if somebody makes a wrong choice, like a mathematical equation, if you did one mistake at the beginning, the whole thing goes wrong. That's exactly the point. We identified ourselves with this body. We accepted this body. We wanted to be independent of Krishna, and we came here, and then we continue in this life. All other forms of life, when they are doing a mistake or when they are not following what is recommended, they are actually elevating themselves. A goat who's slaughtered is elevating its position. It is going in the cycle of evolution till the point it comes to the human form of life, where one has a choice to exercise it and to come out of this cycle of birth and death, to come out of this miseries permanently. And that knowledge, which can help us completely come out of this bodily identification, is the most confidential knowledge. You see, sometimes when we see some children who are born, they are born with a specific taste. Somebody likes something which is sour. Somebody likes which is sweet. Somebody, where do they get this taste? It is because of our previous association. The desire to enjoy through our mind and senses is embedded in our body. And when it is embedded, certain people are, they like certain things. From the womb of a mother, a child who's born is not bad or good, but based on the association that he does, he follows, he associates with, he becomes a good or a bad child. They say, Sang se rang milta hai. From the Sangha that we have, we get the Ranga. When we associate with people or environment or things which are very demoniac, which are which are meant to, instill this desire of sense gratification strongly, then we get prone to that kind of a life. And when we associate with saintly people, as it happened in the case of Narada Muni, if you recall, he just got a mere 4 months association with this Bhakti Vedantists. Anybody knows what is the sequence of things, what happened with the Bhakti Vedantists?
So that his mother, first step of Chaturmasya, they came and stayed there. Then he was, his mother was doing the manual health, and he used to help his mother. But they became the Bhakti Vedantists, like his non-frivolous attitude. That there was no interest in sports, not interest in other things. And then they became merciful to him. then they reported this knowledge. They were leaving.
Good. Okay. Just a lepan, Anumoditam. Who are Bhaktivedantas? Who are you? Okay. Spirit soul who's in the who's forgetful of his true position. All of us. No? But how can our life change? How can a sleeping soul can become awakened? It is only by the presence of pure devotee, like Bhaktivedantas. So very importantly, if you see the life of Narad Muni, and this is something which is very inspiring, how does one come into Krishna consciousness? What happens if we look back also and we share it with someone? It is very, very inspiring because Narad Muni was just an ordinary maid servant son, but he engaged in devotional service to this Bhaktivedantis. This Bhaktivedantis stayed in the house of Narad Muni. And when they stayed in his house, he engaged in some menial service. And not just engaged in menial service, he was also having some character like non-frivolous. And he was not attached to sports, so many things. And then he also got the mercy of taking the remnants of this Bhaktivedantis. And then he developed a taste for Krishna Katha. So there are so many things which are happening in sequence gradually. And until then, the point where he comes, where they have imparted this knowledge, which is the most confidential. Jnanam gushyatamam yattat sakshad bhagavatoditam anvavochan gamishyantah kripaya dinavatsala. In our life also, a pure devotee comes. And we get an opportunity to engage in devotional service. We also get the good fortune of taking the prasadam. We also could have developed a taste for Krishna Katha, but unfortunately we don't go there. And the reason for that is the reason why not all or not everybody reaches there. I think the other day I was talking to Madhuryan Prabhu. He was telling that, this is this powerful instruction of Jesus Christ where he says that don't be lukewarm. Either be cold or be hot, but don't be lukewarm. Some of us who understand the importance of spiritual life take up to this process of devotion, but we don't reach the end goal which is expected of us of becoming a pure devotee. So pure devotee is like that hot state, and the cold state is where we are materialist, we have firm faith and conviction of enjoying this material world. So this could be 10%, this could be 10%. The majority, 80%, is there in between, where it is a mediocre spiritual life, where we have to do, maybe we have to come, maybe we have to hear, maybe I don't know what else to do. And we come and we spend our time. There is some benefit. It is not like, you will not get any benefit of not doing anything. There is some benefit. But the desired outcome of this is where you have become completely free from this material contamination will not happen. So if that is the case, what is it that is missing? One thing which we need to do, if we honestly acknowledge this is what we are and this is what the position of ours is, then we need to see how honestly we are able to identify things which I need to correct. Everybody has this disease that I know everything, I don't need any correction. And if we have that kind of a mentality and a disease, then we can never improve. So there is an intensity which is required, there is an honesty which is required, and there is the mercy of pure devotee which is required. If we don't do intensely, if we are just callous, okay, when time comes, it will happen, I will get it on my own. No, it has to be done tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. It has to be done very, very intensely, intense desire to finish this, intense desire to advance, to purify myself. There's a story of one king who had given this task of carving an elephant from some stone. And it was the famous Michelangelo, who was also there as part of one of the sculptors. And everybody carved the elephant, and various people did various things. And then when the king saw the one that is sculpted by Michelangelo, he was stunned. He said, "How did you manage to do this? What was it that you did that it came out as live as it is probably a live elephant?" They said, "Very simple. I removed all the things which were not elephant-like, which do not belong to that thing." Similarly, in our spiritual life also, we need to find out those things which are otherwise known as anarthas, which are not spiritual, but which keep us entrapped, which keeps us illusioned, and which keeps us forgetful of our true nature in this material world, and makes us believe that we are this human, we are this body. I told this story once, sometime back, not exactly a story, the difference between a ghost and a Satan. So Prabhupada uses this line, Pisachira, what is that? Mati hai channa.
Mati channa hai.
Mati channa hai. Yeah, what is that verse?
Krishna.
Basically, the intention of that verse is, if somebody is under the influence of external energy of the Lord, enamored by that, then his mind is channa, it is trapped, it is taken over, and mati channa hai, he becomes disturbed. It is like haunted by the external energy of the Lord, Maya. So if that is the case, like, imagine somebody who commits some sinful activities, kills someone, or does something and doesn't get a gross body, then he roams around in this material world in the subtle body as ghost. It looks for a body where it can find shelter, right? Because it looks for a body because untimely the death has happened and the material nature has not created a gross body. It is looking, and people usually who are inauspicious, asuchi. Earlier days, people even when they used to go for clearing their bowel movements or something, they used to change their clothes and go. But nowadays, when we live in this society, all those things are these are all gone, and these habits have changed, and people have become so asuchi. So a ghost usually attacks people who are asuchi. There is a time for taking baths. There is a time for doing certain things. There is a time to follow rules and regulations. So whom does it attack? It attacks those people who are weak, who are asuchi. And similarly, those people who are in this material world, who are weak spiritually, are haunted by this material energy, who want to enjoy more. It's like, the thankless job of the police, who sees that, okay, this jiva, this living entity doesn't want to serve the Lord, wants to be independent, is captured. So like that, there are so many living entities who want to be independent, who want to enjoy on their own, are haunted by this Maya. So ghost is one thing where you are haunted and you don't have a choice. You are haunted because of your bad habits or nature or the vritti that you have developed. But the other thing is the Satan, right? Satan is more powerful because when the exorcist or the tantric comes to remove the ghost from the body, it will hide, it will not be there. So when the exorcist or the tantric is there, it appears normal. But when it is gone, that tantric is gone, again it starts hunting. So similarly, in our case, the hunting that we have got is this body and the mind. This is sarira bandha. The mind makes us forget our nature about Krishna. It makes us deeply engrossed in material world. And when we hear this Bhagavatam, when we read, we get that slight glimpse that yes, I am spirit soul, part and parcel of the Lord. I have got nothing to do. This is temporary world. It will all be over. But the moment we step out again, like the Satan who's there again comes back, and we still get deeply rooted in that bodily concept of life. So you see, actually, even if somebody says that this material world is very happy, I'm happy with my father, mother, brother, sister, everyone, so nice family we have. But this nice family, what is this nice family? One day, something, my father has this problem, my mother has this problem, my sister has this problem. Everybody has some problem or other. And then just to take care of this whole family, you have to maintain, you have to do so many hard work, so much of hard work. And even if, imagine you have a lot of money, lot of things, everything you have, but if your mind is not in control, whatever is served, whatever is given, you don't like it. Maybe if your mind is controlled, you don't have anything, very simple living, very simple things, but that simple food, simple whatever sabji is given, it is pleasing. So the perception of happiness gets formed through our mind, and this mind always cheats us, gives us this hope and belief that in this material world there is happiness. And the process of this desire continues, body after body, body after body. We develop a certain kind of senses, we develop a certain kind of body and mind, body based around the mind. The mind is the pivot. So what is the solution? Where do we come out, and what should we do? As this verse is telling, and the most important thing is the instructions of the scriptures and the Bhaktivedantists. Very importantly, Prabhupada has mentioned that Jnanam Gushyatamam Yattat Sakshat Bhagavato Ditam. So this Gushyatamam Jnanam, which was imparted by the Bhaktivedantists, is non-different from Bhagavato Ditam. It is non-different from the Lord himself. The Lord, what he has spoken, it is non-different. The word Bhagavato Ditam is found elsewhere also in Bhagavatam. This is a conversation which Narad Muni is having with Brahma, his father. And Brahma is telling, Idam Bhagavatam Namam Yanme Bhagavato Ditam Sangraho Ayam Vibhutinam Tvam Etad Vipuli Kuru. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Yanme Bhagavato Ditam. So the translation of this verse is, O Narada, this science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand this science yourself. So this is spoken by Brahma. He's telling to Narada Muni that this Bhagavatam, the knowledge of Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Yanme Bhagavato Ditam. And it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. You see, what the pure devotees or Bhakti Vedantists speak, that is non-different from the Lord himself. That is why our Acharya Srila Prabhupada very boldly has written Bhagavad Gita as it is spoken by Krishna. Here Narada Muni is telling, Idam Bhagavatam Nama Yanme Bhagavato Ditam. It was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And very excellent purport Prabhupada is writing, the Bhagavatam in a nutshell, spoken by the Personality of Godhead in about half a dozen verses, which will appear ahead, is the science of God, and it is the potent representation of the Personality of Godhead. So the Bhagavatam in a nutshell, spoken by the Personality of Godhead in about half a dozen verses. Actually, it is 4 verses. This will come in 2.9.33, 34, 35, 36. Which will appear ahead is the science of God. So Bhagavatam is the science of God, spoken in nutshell, is the potent representation of the Personality of Godhead. He being absolute is non-different from the science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahmaji received this science of Godhead from the Lord directly, and he handed over the same to Narada, who in his turn ordered Srila Vyasadeva to expand it. So the transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Lord is not mental speculation by the mundane wranglers, but it is uncontaminated, eternal, perfect knowledge beyond the jurisdiction of material modes. Somebody may say, what is this knowledge that you are talking about? This may be somebody who's speculating. That is why the word Bhagavato Ditam is very important. And Prabhupada is saying, so the transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Lord is not mental speculation by the mundane wranglers, but is uncontaminated, eternal, perfect knowledge beyond the jurisdiction of material modes. So it is uncontaminated, eternal, perfect knowledge beyond the jurisdiction of material modes. From the purport that we read, what is Guhya knowledge? What is the confidential knowledge? Mother? No. What is it, Mukund? Naveen? Not from here. From correct. Guhya knowledge is understanding that I'm not this body. I'm spirit soul. Guhya Tara is comparative. Is when one understands the supreme absolute truth is Paramatma. Guhya Tama, to understand the Lord as the personality of Godhead and to be engaged in devotional service. So here, so the transcendental, that is why, so the supreme absolute truth is spoken by the Lord himself, Bhagavato Uditam. So the transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Lord is not mental speculation by the mundane wranglers, but it is uncontaminated, eternal, perfect knowledge beyond the jurisdiction of material modes. The Bhagavad Puran is therefore the direct incarnation of the Lord in the form of transcendental sound, and one should receive this transcendental knowledge from the bona fide representative of the Lord in the chain of disciplic succession, from the Lord to Brahmaji, from Brahmaji to Narad, from Narad to Vyasa, from Vyasadeva to Sukadev Goswami, and from Sukadev Goswami to Sutta Goswami. The ripened fruit of the Vedic tree drops from the hand to another without being broken by falling suddenly from a high branch down to the earth. Therefore, unless one hears the signs of Godhead from the bona fide representative of the disciplic succession, as above mentioned, for one to understand the theme of the signs of Godhead will be a difficult job. It should never be heard from the professional Bhagavatam reciters who earn their livelihood by gratifying the senses of the audience. Actually, what is just the knowledge of the Godhead or just the knowledge spoken by the Lord is not enough unless we hear it from the pure devotees. It has to be heard in the disciplic succession. Even though Bhagavatam is the direct incarnation of the Lord and non-different from him, it is a transcendental sound. It has to be received in the from the bona fide representative of the Lord in the chain of disciplic succession. That is exactly what happened in the case of Narad Muni. He heard it from the Bhaktivedantists. So similarly, when the Lord is imparting this knowledge to Brahma, Brahma also imparted the same knowledge as it is, because he heard it directly from the Lord to Narada, and Narada heard it and then he imparted it to Vyasa. So the ripened fruit of the Vedic tree drops from one hand to another without being broken by falling suddenly from a high branch down to the earth. There is another mention of Maitreya Rishi, and he is talking about this important instruction of Srimad Bhagavatam to Vidura. He says, Soham Nidam Shulla Sukhaya Dukkham Mahad Gatanam Viramaya Tasya Prabhratatte Bhagavatam Puranam Yadaha Sakshad Bhagavan Rishibhya. Soham Nidam Shulla Sukhaya Dukkham Mahad Gatanam Viramaya Tasya Prabhrataye Bhagavatam Puranam Yadaha Sakshad Bhagavan Rishibhya. So he's telling, let me now begin speaking on the Bhagavatam Purana, which was directly spoken to the great sages by the personality of Godhead. So this knowledge of Bhagavatam, which we are discussing, which we are talking, which we are understanding, which we are trying to hear, is difficult, but whatever we are trying to hear, was spoken directly by the Lord. And all the sages, they are saying, so Maitreya Rishi, when he's talking about this, he's giving the reference that as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he spoke, which was directly spoken to the great sages by the personality of Godhead for the benefit of those who are entangled in extreme miseries for the sake of very little pleasure. Now, any mention, any reference of Bhagavatam as the confidential knowledge. From the verses that we have read. Clue is when Suta Goswami, he begins to speak, he begins to answer the questions of the sages of Naimisharanya. He spoke a verse, very beautiful verse. The verse is Yasvanubhavam Akhila Shrutisarametam Adhyatma Deepam Atitirshatam Tamo Antham Samsarinam Karunaya Purana Guhyam Samvyasa Sunamupayami Gurum Muni. So this verse is saying Yasvanubhavam Akhila Shrutisarametam. Yasvanubhavam. That's Sukadeva Goswami who experienced this supreme absolute truth. Yasvanubhavam Akhila Shrutisaram Ekam. And this is the essence of all Vedic literatures. Adhyatma Deepam. He put it together like a torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Adhyatma Deepam Aditi Shatam Tamo Andham. For all this ignorant material conditioned living entities in this material world. Samsarinam Karunayaha Purana A. Samsarinam Karunayaha Purana Gushya. Out of deep compassion for the samsarina, for people who are in this material world, Purana Gushyam, this confidential knowledge was revealed by him. So this is Suta Goswami, when he's recollecting, he's talking how this knowledge of Bhagavatam is so confidential. Tam Vyasa Sunam Upayami Munim Guruna. That, unto that son of Vyasadeva, I am offering my obeisances. Now, before we close our time together on this verse about the transcendental knowledge, actually, there is a very interesting verse in Ishopanishad, which Ishopanishad goes very details about like what is Vidya, what is Avidya, and what happens when somebody is doing a culture of knowledge, somebody who's doing a culture of ignorance, what happens. In that connection, actually, Prabhupada mentions in Ishopanishad, from his kingdom, the personality of Godhead sends his bona fide servants to propagate this message by which one can return to Godhead. And sometimes the Lord comes himself to do this work. Since all living beings are his beloved sons, his parts and parcels, God is more sorry than we ourselves to see the sufferings we are constantly undergoing in this material condition. The miseries of this material world serve to indirectly remind us of our incompatibility with dead matter. Intelligent living entities generally take notes of these reminders and engage themselves in the culture of Vidya or transcendental knowledge. Human life is the best opportunity for the culture of spiritual knowledge. And a human being who does not take advantage of this opportunity is called a Naradhama, the lowest of human beings. We started about this, living entity being spiritual, put into this asat, tat sardhamanye, asuravarya dehinam, sada samudvigna dhyam asat graha. So the spiritual entity who belongs to the spiritual world, being put into this material world, it's an unfavorable situation. It's a non-compatible situation, and that is why there is disturbance. And that disturbance can be removed by culture of Vidya, by culture of transcendental knowledge. So the miseries of this material world serve to indirectly remind us of our incompatibility with dead matter. Intelligent living entities generally take note of these reminders and engage themselves in the culture of Vidya or transcendental knowledge. Human life is the best opportunity for the culture of spiritual knowledge. And a human being who does not take advantage of this opportunity is called a Naradhama, the lowest of human beings. And then Prabhupada goes on to speak, foolish human beings who are grossly absorbed in the culture of avidya, nations, do not mind the cruel process. Enamored with the beauty of the illusory energy, they undergo the same miseries repeatedly and do not learn any lessons from the laws of nature. Therefore, the culture of Vidya or transcendental knowledge is essential for the human being. Sense enjoyment in the diseased material condition must be restricted as far as possible. Unrestricted sense enjoyment in this bodily condition is the path of ignorance and death. The living entities are not without spiritual senses. Every living being in his original spiritual form has all the senses which are now materially manifested, being covered by the material body and mind. The activities of the material senses are perverted reflections of the activities of the original spiritual senses. In his diseased condition, the spirit soul engages in material activities under the material covering. Real sense enjoyment is possible only when the disease of materialism is removed. In our pure spiritual form, free from all material contamination, real enjoyment of the senses is possible. And Prabhupada concludes this section on culture of Vidya or culture of transcendental knowledge and culture of Avidya. In that section, he concludes, the culture of Vidya is summarized in Srimad Bhagavatam. Anybody knows what is the culture of Vidya summarized by Prabhupada in Bhagavatam? There is a verse which comes in the first canto, second chapter, 14th verse, where it is mentioned. What is the conclusion of this? When we understand that we are incompatible, we are going through these miseries, we need to come out of it. And there is a spiritual knowledge which is available, which can only be accessed through a pure devotee. Having gotten the mercy of getting the this knowledge from a pure devotee, what should one do? And that is given in a beautiful verse in first canto, second chapter, 14th verse. Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan satvatam patihi shrottavyaha kirtitavyascha dhyeya pujyascha nityata. Therefore, devotees should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is their protector. Ekena manasa. With one single pointed attention. Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan satvatam pati. Bhagavan, who is the protector of devotees. They should, knowing that, ekena manasa, with a single pointed attention and determination, shrotavya, one should hear, kirtitavyasya, one should glorify, dhyeya pujyascha nityada. Dhyaya is to remember, pujya is to worship. So therefore, devotees should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is their protector. I'll stop here and see if you have any questions or comments.
Directly spoken with God. What is the difference between Shruti or Shruti? There's differentiation made, right, in Bhagavatam. Why is there a difference like that created between Vedas and Bhagavatam?
So Vedas and Bhagavatam, the difference is Shruti is something which is coming out of the nostril from the breathing of the Lord. And Smriti is something which is, so the original Bhagavatam was spoken by the Lord in 4 nutshell verses. And then those verses were repeated by Brahma to Narad Muni with an instruction, Vipuli Kuru, to further expand it. So now the one that we are reading, this Bhagavatam spoken by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, has got this 12 cantos, thousands of verses. It has been expanded. And it has been put into writing by Vedavyas, so hence it is Smriti. Does that answer? Or no?
The original verses as they are right now, they were not spoken by the Lord.
The original verses were spoken by the Lord, the 4 verses, 4 seals. But these verses. Any other question? What is the fact?
There was a concept made that what in the next life that fact that there is no perfection.
No, if there is no perfection, then why are we trying for it? So we will do today, this life will be a little lazy and we will keep it in 5%. Next life, I'll start from 6%. I could keep a goal like that.
You have to cover the journey.
No, but the journey, you're right that, it doesn't get lost, but the journey is a painful journey. Again, you have to enter into the mother's womb, come out of it and go through the same process of birth, death, old age and disease, accept a body, and then adhyatmic, adidaivik and adibhautik kleshas. Why you want to perpetuate it? Why you want to elongate this journey? No, not really. The choice is always with us. You want to keep a choice. You feel that, okay, like that is what exactly lukewarm means, where we don't want to reach the stage of perfection of devotional life, which is achievable in one form of one human life, Prabhupada says. Just the sincerity, the intensity, and being honest to oneself. And knowing those anarthas which are there, working on it to go past, then one can attain that state of pure devotion. If that is the goal, like the way you are thinking, 2% I'm doing this life, ठीक है, छोड़ दिया. Next 3% से start करूँगा, फिर ज्ञान बन के आऊँगा या जो भी बन के आऊँगा, and then I'll continue. That is not what the devotees aspire to. You should. So that is why Tivrena Bhakti Yoga. The reason why you are thinking like that is because you're not able to understand the miseries of this human form of life. You're not convinced about the miserable existence of this material. The process of this disease and old age and death, it's horrible. Why do you want to again enter into the womb of a mother and go through the same process? So when you can finish it in this life, better do it. That is why there is one verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Vigata Jvara, give up this lethargy. 3.30, if you see that verse. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirasir nirmamo bhutva yuddhasva vigata jvara. Vigata jvara is that lethargy, laziness. ठीक है ना, बहुत हो गया इस साल ये लाइफ में, without being lethargic. Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me with mind intent on me and without desire for gain and free from egoism and lethargy fight. There is a complacency, there is a sense of complacency which comes. At least I am chanting. There is a sense of comfort. ठीक है, मैं devotee हूँ. I can slow down or I can relax. That's not Vigata Jvara. What Krishna says. There is a sense of urgency. This human life anyway is gone. Now, how much time we have, we don't know. We don't know half. Who knows it's half or how much? Right. So in that also somehow we came in touch, but we think we are very big. And we do, and that way there is no value of it. But you can achieve the perfection in this human form of life itself. So that is what is the lukewarm state. Any other question?
I have a question.
Yes.
There was a line which was mentioned that Lord gave the knowledge to Brahma to Narad, Narad to Vyasamuni, then Vyasamuni to Sukadev Goswami to Sutta Goswami. Sukadev Goswami and Sutta Goswami, they are two different.
Yes.
I thought they were same actually.
No. They are different people. Sukadev Goswami, when he narrated Bhagavatam to Parikshit, in the audience, Sutta Goswami was present. He heard it from Sukadeva Goswami. And much later, Suta Goswami was asked certain questions by the sages of Naimisharanya, and he repeated what he heard from Sukadeva Goswami.
Okay. Mhm. Okay.
What is the Guhyatamam knowledge? Most confidential. What is Jnana? I'm asking which is the most confidential knowledge.
We are not the body, that's what you said. We are not the body, that's the.
That is confidential knowledge. That is Guhya.
The most confidential knowledge is understanding that Supreme Personality is the person to be worshipped, and also we are supposed to do devotional service to him.
Actually, the pursuit of knowledge, you can only come to the understanding of Brahman. You can say neti, 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 neti. And this is not true, this is not true, this is all false, this is all false. And you can understand the non-material aspect of truth, which is Brahman. But on your own, and by pursuit of transcendental knowledge alone, you can't understand the Supreme Absolute Truth's facet as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That can only be understood through bhakti. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatpada. So, by the process of devotion, one can understand the Supreme Absolute Truth as a person. And that is the highest understanding, the most confidential knowledge, which is revealed by the Lord himself to his confidential servants, and they in turn pass it on. And it can only be accessed, this confidential knowledge can be realized by rendering service to a pure devotee of the Lord. Otherwise, the access of this is not there. What is a more confidential knowledge?
We are part of Supreme Soul.
Yes. We have the Supreme Absolute Truth when it is a localized form, like it is, he is present in our heart as Paramatma, is the more confidential knowledge. Actually, this is there in Bhagavad Gita. If you see in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, Krishna says about this. And the most confidential knowledge he reveals in 18.65 and 66. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mam evaisyasi satyam te satijani priyosi me. And then sarva dharman paritejya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayisyami ma sucha. So if you see the verse before that, 18.64, Krishna says, Sarva guhyatamam bhuya shunume paramam vachaha ishto sime dridhamiti tato vakshami te hitam. Because you are my dear friend, I am speaking to you the most confidential part of knowledge. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. So Krishna is telling, since you are my friend, I am now speaking to you the most confidential part of knowledge. And what is that? Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evaisyasi satyam te pratijani priyosim. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me. 4 things. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my dear friend. Always think of me, manmana, bhava mad bhakto, become my devotee, madhyaji, worship me, and mam namaskuru, offer your homage to me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my dear friend. And then sarvadharman paritejya mamekam sharanam. This is the most confidential. And if you read before to that, verses before to that, he says this is Gushyatara and then Gushyatama. So it is there in Bhagavatam. The final understanding in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the beginning, he speaks about the difference between soul and body. Then he goes on to talk about Paramatma. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridyasya arjuna tishtati. Or Matta Parataram, no, what is that? 15.15. No, so firstly, 15.15 Vedisya survey rahame vedi mitne. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishta. Atta smriti. So that talks about the Paramatma aspect of the Lord. But the highest understanding is the personality aspect, and that can only be known by engaging in devotional service. Any other question? जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, जगत गुरु
जय।
प्रभुपाद की
जय।
और प्रेमानंदे।
हरि हरि बोल।
हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण।